Have you noticed how strange waiting feels now? You order food, and if it takes more than 20 minutes, it feels slow. A movie starts buffering for 3 seconds and suddenly you're irritated. A package arrives tomorrow instead of today, and somehow that feels inconvenient. What's strange is that none of these things would have seemed unreasonable not very long ago. But something has changed. And I don't think it's just technology. I think modern life is quietly teaching us that waiting itself is a problem. That every delay should be eliminated. Every gap should be filled. Every moment of uncertainty should be shortened. And the longer I think about it, the more I wonder what happens when that mindset reaches money. Because investing requires waiting. Saving requires waiting. Building a career requires waiting. Almost every form of long-term financial stability depends on a skill that modern life is slowly removing from us: patience. And that creates a conflict most people don't even realize they're living inside. Not because they're irresponsible, but because the world around them keeps rewarding the opposite behavior. The common story is that people have become impatient. That we've lost discipline. That we just want everything immediately. But I don't think that's the whole story, because most people aren't choosing impatience in isolation. They're adapting to an environment designed around speed. Think about a normal day. You wake up and instantly check messages. You stream entertainment immediately. You transfer money in seconds. You order groceries without leaving your house. You search for answers and receive millions of results almost instantly. For most of human history, waiting was built into daily life. Information required effort. Purchases required travel. Communication required time. Now the delay between wanting something and receiving something is shrinking everywhere, and that's incredibly convenient. But convenience has side effects. Because our brains learn from repetition, if life constantly rewards immediate action with immediate outcomes, we start expecting reality to work that way. Even when reality doesn't. Especially when reality doesn't. That's where money becomes interesting. Because money operates on a completely different timeline. The stock market doesn't care how quickly you want results. Compound growth doesn't care how motivated you feel this week. Retirement savings don't accelerate because you're impatient. The most important financial systems in life still operate slowly, painfully slowly, sometimes. And that creates psychological friction. Imagine planting a tree. You water it, you protect it, you take care of it. Then nothing happens. At least nothing visible. Weeks pass, months pass, the growth is happening underground, the roots are developing before the tree becomes impressive. Most financial progress works exactly the same way, but modern life rarely rewards invisible progress anymore. We are surrounded by visible outcomes: instant notifications, instant purchases, instant entertainment, instant feedback. We've become accustomed to seeing results immediately after effort, so when financial progress remains invisible for long periods of time, it can feel like failure. Even when it's working perfectly. That's one reason investing feels emotionally difficult. Not because the math is complicated. Because the waiting is. You contribute money month after month. The account barely seems to move. Years pass before the numbers become meaningful. The reward structure feels disconnected from the effort. Meanwhile, everything around you offers faster emotional payoffs. Buy something today. Feel better today. Upgrade your lifestyle today. Experience pleasure today. The future is asking for patience. The present is offering rewards immediately. And the present is a very persuasive salesperson. This becomes even more complicated when economic pressure enters the picture. Because many people aren't simply impatient, they're exhausted. Rent is expensive, housing feels uncertain, job security feels less predictable than it once did. Inflation makes everyday purchases feel heavier. Financial anxiety changes how time feels. When someone is worried about next month, asking them to think about 30 years from now becomes psychologically difficult, not because they're irrational. Because survival naturally pulls attention toward the present. This is something financial conversations often miss. People don't just make decisions with spreadsheets, they make decisions with emotions. With stress. With uncertainty. With hopes and fears. Money is never only math. Money is time. Money is security. Money is freedom. Money is identity. And when those things feel unstable, patience becomes harder to access. But there's another layer to this story, something even more subtle. Modern businesses have become exceptionally good at monetizing impatience. Not necessarily through anything malicious. Simply through incentives. If a company can reduce waiting by 10 minutes, customers prefer it. If an app can shorten a process by 5 seconds, engagement increases. If a platform can deliver entertainment immediately, people stay longer. The market naturally rewards speed, which means billions of dollars are being invested into removing friction from your life. And again, that's not inherently bad. But it creates an interesting consequence. We live inside systems optimized to satisfy short-term desires, while trying to achieve financial goals that require long-term thinking. That's like training for a marathon inside a casino. The environment and the objective aren't aligned. One keeps pulling your attention toward now. The other depends on your relationship with later. And eventually you realize something important. The real challenge isn't learning how money works. It's learning how time works. Because wealth isn't only built through intelligence. It's often built through duration, the ability to stay invested, the ability to stay consistent, the ability to tolerate periods where nothing exciting seems to be happening. That's not a financial skill. That's an emotional skill. That's an emotional skill. A psychological skill. And maybe that's the deeper realization. Patience isn't merely waiting. It's confidence without immediate evidence. It's continuing despite delayed rewards. It's trusting a process while the results remain invisible. The irony is that many of the most meaningful things in life operate this way. Relationships, health, careers, trust, financial stability, they all grow slowly. And because they grow slowly, they often feel less exciting than things that arrive instantly. But they're usually far more valuable. The challenge isn't becoming some perfectly disciplined person who never wants immediate gratification. That's unrealistic. You're human. Of course, immediate rewards feel good. They're supposed to. The goal is simply becoming aware of the environment you're living in. Recognizing when modern systems are shaping your expectations. Recognizing when impatience is being trained into your habits. Recognizing that some of the best outcomes in life remain stubbornly resistant to acceleration. You can't binge watch your way to financial security. You can't next day delivery your way to peace of mind. You can't speedrun decades of compound growth. Some things still require time. And maybe that's not a flaw. Maybe that's protection. Because the things that matter most often need enough time to test our commitment to them. So what do we do with this? Probably not what social media usually recommends. Not extreme budgeting. Not obsessively checking investment accounts. Not trying to optimize every financial decision. Instead, maybe we focus on building a healthier relationship with waiting itself. Allowing progress to be boring sometimes. Accepting that meaningful growth often feels invisible. Measuring success by consistency rather than constant excitement. Learning to sit with delayed rewards instead of treating them like problems. Because the truth is, waiting isn't disappearing from life. Only certain kinds of waiting are. Technology can eliminate delivery times. It can eliminate transaction times. It can eliminate information delays. But it can't eliminate the time required to build a future. And perhaps that's why patience is becoming more valuable, not less. It's turning into a scarce skill. A competitive advantage. A form of emotional resilience. The ability to remain calm inside a culture that constantly demands immediacy. Maybe that's the real story behind money today. Not that people have become worse with finances. Not that discipline has vanished. But that we're trying to think long-term in a world increasingly designed around the short-term. And once you see that, something changes. You stop judging yourself quite so harshly. You understand the tension you're experiencing. You realize you're not just managing money. You're managing time. Attention. Emotion. Expectation. And maybe that's enough for now. Not perfect patience. Not perfect discipline. Just a little more awareness. Because in a world that keeps speeding up, there may be something quietly powerful about remembering that some of the most important things in life still arrive slowly. And maybe they're worth waiting for.